My entire life, I had wondered who my mother was, and I had wanted to know who she was. And when her letter arrived when I was 22, I was so overjoyed. I was just in awe to find out that I had three brothers, that she had found me. And I was so excited to respond, but a part of me held back. The part that had been conditioned, the one out of gratitude and loyalty to my parents. The words of the people around me hung over my head. Why do you need to know? She didn't want you. You've already had a great life. You've got parents who love you. Why do you need more? I was just about to go travelling for 9 weeks when the letter arrived, and I wrote my draft and I decided I'd send it when I got back. When I travelled with my girlfriend through Europe, she said that I told her every day how excited I was and how she would say to me, "How can you do this to your parents? You've had such a good life." So I came home and I didn't respond for 5 years. I'd written many drafts over that time, but I just couldn't send them. It was that gratitude and loyalty that I owed my parents. And then I was pregnant with my daughter, and going through the pregnancy and feeling her move and bond and holding her for the first time and looking into her eyes and thinking, this is the first biological relative I've ever met. You are the first person I have ever looked like. There's something so wrong about the first biological relative you meet being your child. So I sat down with my parents and I explained to them my need to finally respond to this letter. And whilst they said they understood, they put some rules in place. One of them being the people I could tell. They didn't want me telling certain family members. They were very private people. They didn't want their business exposed to be the town gossip. My father said to me, "Do what you need to do, but we won't ever speak about this again." And we didn't. 19 years later, he passed away and we never spoke about it. I was so excited to finally write the letter, although a little hesitant. I posted my letter, and within days, I received a response. And I can remember at the time feeling so overwhelmed at how quickly that response had arrived. We wrote back and forth, exchanged photos, sent some faxes, and then finally had a phone conversation. It's also nerve-wracking. I still had feelings of not being good enough and wanting to be the best I could be so that I wasn't rejected again. When we finally met, it felt so overwhelming. I was so nervous. I can remember meeting and then going to a cafe for lunch. There were so many questions, so much to talk about. How do you cover 27 years in a 3-hour lunch? There was just so much to talk about. And I can remember just pushing my food around the plate. The nerves were so great. At the time, Karen was living in another state, which allowed us to explore connection without it being part of everyday life. I was able to meet my brothers and her extended family, but I was also the mother of 2 young children at that time. About 2 years into reunion, she told me that she was moving back to Sydney, And she located herself geographically halfway between where I lived and where my adoptive parents lived. I found this really confronting and overwhelming, and I pulled back. I stopped connection and communication. I felt that the pressure of my parents' wishes and the loyalty and obligation that I felt to them, this was all part of that decision at the time, along with me focusing on raising my children. We didn't speak for a number of years, and then we started eventually catching up every 6 months or so for dinner. But how do you get to know someone over a 3-hour dinner? Essentially, we were strangers who were bonded, but also held the wounds of separation. We really struggled to connect deeply. I was telling her what I thought she wanted to hear. She was saying to me that she'd made the right decision, that I'd had a good life, and I was feeding into that. When really, I wanted to hear that she'd wanted me, that she'd needed me, that she'd missed me. It was a catch-22. Neither of us were saying what we truly felt. And then she started asking to see my kids, which I really pushed back on because I felt like I didn't feel comfortable. So how could I bring my kids into the equation? And that's really sad because she could have been part of their life and they could have had a relationship. So many missed opportunities for relationship and relationships, and such a waste of time. My brother passed away, and I hold deep regret and guilt over the fact that we didn't really know each other. We didn't have a relationship. And then there were a number of events that started to turn our relationship around. In 2017, Karen told me that she was sorry. It was something I'd been waiting so long to hear, something that I had wanted to hear. She told me that she had wanted me and had missed seeing me grow up. This enabled me to drop some walls and boundaries. Yet we still struggled. We both started doing some personal work to heal ourselves before we could come together. It was in 2018 that I read The Primal Wound, and turning every page, it was the first time I had felt truly seen. Everything that I had internalized, all those feelings and thoughts, I just thought it was me that had felt like this. And once I'd finished, I relayed the experience to Karen of how I'd felt reading the book and what it had awoken in me. And she too read the book. The strange thing is that in 2019, when she moved back to Queensland, that's when our relationship started to deepen. I had felt that I could never truly get close to her when she was in Sydney, because what if she left? And now she had left. She'd moved back interstate and she wasn't just around the corner anymore. And it was almost like I gave myself permission to drop some more walls. We came together and decided that we would stop hurting each other and start actually listening and creating a true mother-daughter bond, one where we deeply listened and heard each other. It was through this mutual desire that we were able to build trust, which allowed for honesty and vulnerability to come in for us to truly see each other and hear each other. Like any relationship, it's still a work in progress. We do have our ups and downs, but they're nowhere near like what we experienced in the first 17 years of our reunion. What's really sad is that I prioritised everyone else's needs above my own, that I allowed the fear of losing everything I'd ever known and the obligation of loyalty to outweigh my own needs. It was also the fear of speaking my truth and being vulnerable and open and honest and holding back because I was so scared of being rejected by the one person who I just wanted to love me. I'm so grateful that my mother never gave up on us and that we have been able to co-create a true mother-daughter relationship, one that I have always wanted and hold so deeply in my heart.